2023 is a year I will look back on, at least film-wise, very positively. Because this year, film-wise, has been really, really cool for me. When I started my YouTube channel last year and began posting content, just feeling my way through all of this and just beginning to really explore a passion of mine, it became apparent to me very quickly that I was missing something. So I immediately began immersing myself into the film world more, as well as hearing from you all in the comments, and it really got me to realize how I was only scratching the surface of what cinema had to offer. One example that comes to mind was on my Magnificent Seven video. A subscriber had left a comment mentioning Seven Samurai by Kurosawa and saying that I should watch it if I hadn't seen it. And at the time, I knew of Kurosawa and I obviously knew of Seven Samurai, but I'd never seen it and I was not familiar with his work. And so a comment like that caused me to take a step back and rethink about my knowledge of all this stuff, because to me, I thought Magnificent Seven, that film, and a lot of the movies that I was familiar with and grew up on were the extent of what Hollywood, of what cinema had to offer. But it took someone kind of cracking that door open to say, hey, you should probably check this out. If you like this, check this out. And that is what I love about the film community, is the positivity and the passion around sharing what you love. Now, the bad side of that is condemning people for not having seen things. Like, for example, someone could have left a comment saying, wow, you're an idiot. You haven't seen Seven Samurai. That's the better film. What's wrong with you? Read a book, or in this case, watch a movie. And that is what I see most of the time on film Twitter, anywhere. It's just such a negative place. And I just absolutely hate that, because that does not encourage exploration. But seeing a positive comment that says, hey, this is amazing, I love this, you should check this out, that does encourage exploration, learning, and a deeper understanding, which is exactly what happened to me. And so 2023 became the year of exploration and the year of learning. And to say that it has been rewarding is an understatement. Not only have I grown to have a deeper appreciation for cinema, but the submersion into pictures beyond that of Netflix and such has been an eye-opening experience. I've learned that maintaining a surface-level relationship to cinema is like using a sports car just for the seat warmers. Sure, you can do it, but it has so much more to offer. And with cinema, as soon as I dug deeper and began learning about films, genres, waves, directors, and more, I felt like I was finally switching off the accessories and pressed on the gas. And so in this video, I'm going to review my 2023 Letterboxd Wrapped, as well as list off a few of my favorite films that I watched over this last year. Some will be new films, but most of them will be older films that I discovered for the first time this year and absolutely loved. So let's get into it. So yes, I did indeed watch 300 movies over the course of 2023. You'll notice December was kind of a mad dash to hit that number, because into November, I realized, oh shoot, I'm actually going to be right on track to hit 300. And so I just pushed as hard as I could and hit it. That was a pretty cool milestone for me. As someone who had basically fallen off watching movies consistently for years, it was a really, really cool accomplishment and meant a lot for me to have hit this number. So I was absolutely thrilled about that. But it was fun. It's like I didn't pad the stats with, shorts or anything like that, apart from a few Wes Anderson shorts that I threw in at the end of the year just to help a little bit. But most of these were actually full-length movies, and many of these were movies that I saw for the first time, which we will get into here. So 300 movies seen. The first movie that I watched in the year was The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nick Cage, Pedro Pascal movie. And the last film I watched was a rewatch of Past Lives, one of my favorite movies of this past year. Absolutely beautiful, heartwarming, heartbreaking. Absolutely love that movie. So perfect. Some of the milestones I hit: my 50th was Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. My 100th film was Batman. My 150th film. Okay, this Pasolini film. So I hated this movie so much, it literally stopped my Pasolini binge in its tracks. My goal for 2023, or one of them, was to watch all of Pasolini's films. And I disliked this one so much that it just completely threw me off track, and I haven't watched a film of his since. Now, this movie, I know it's not a bad movie, right? It was very of its time. It's satire frozen in time. So obviously I'm not going to understand it. I'm not going to get it. I have no doubt if I were to dive deeper into this movie, I would understand the references and it would be a rewarding experience, but I'm not going to do that because I really just didn't enjoy it the first time. I'm sure there is diamonds in that rough, but I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, but I will get back on the Pasolini train in 2024 because I am excited to see the rest of his films, because I adore a lot of his earlier films. Like Akatone was like perfect film. I absolutely love that. One of the most heartbreaking, best final lines in a film ever. Love it. Anyway, Anyway, my 200th film was Exorcist 3. This is the first time I was seeing this movie, but I'd heard people talk about it for so long, finally got around to watching it, and it is awesome. It is as good as people say. So if you love The Exorcist, definitely check that one out. The Dreamers. I have seen this movie before. One of my favorite films. I see people being really mixed on this film, and I get that, I guess, because it really just depends on what kind of movies you like. And like I mentioned previously, I've learned a lot more about waves and learned a lot more about genres. And one thing I've discovered about myself is that I absolutely love Eric Rohmer. I absolutely love French New Wave films, and this felt reminiscent of that. This feels like an Eric Rohmer film in a lot of ways, or it feels very reminiscent of that. And it really captures that energy, but in a new way with, you know, an amazing cast. So I absolutely love this film. This is a really personal thing for me. It's like, I wouldn't imagine everybody to love this movie. Also, Eva Green is absolutely amazing. Anything she's in will be amazing. And the 300th film I watched on New Year's Eve with my wife and my mom is Past Lives. That was a rewatch. Absolutely loved this movie. I was trying to go back and rewatch all the movies that made it into my top 10 to see if they were justified in being there. And Past Lives is unbelievably deserving of a top 10 spot, and even a top 5 spot, and maybe a top 1 spot. I don't know. We'll see. You'll have to watch my best of video to see where it lands. But Past Lives is absolutely perfect. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Give it a watch. Here's my stats over the year. The number I'm most excited about is the fact that almost a majority of all the films I watched were old films. Only a small percentage of them were new releases. And I pretty much saw everything that came out, or at least I tried to see everything that came out. But most of the films I watched were older films, and I absolutely love that. That's the exact percentage I want to see. And like I said at the beginning, that was my goal for the year, and I think I succeeded. And as you'll see there, December was definitely a push, a little aggressive there. I think I watched 60, 70 films in December. Bit much. Definitely won't be doing that again. But it was a fun little final push to get over the 300 finish line. All right, now for stars and directors. So starting with the stars, Willem Dafoe, he was in just so many movies this year, and also a lot of the movies I was watching for the first time, he was in as well. I also rewatched, I think, Last Temptation of Christ twice, so that added 2 there for him, but love all of his movies. I really don't think he's ever given a bad performance, or maybe even been in a bad movie. Honestly, the guy, he picks so carefully and picks some of the best roles. Tom Cruise, I went through the whole Mission Impossible franchise, so that padded that. I also watched Eyes Wide Shut twice, I think. Absolutely adore that movie. So that's why Tom Cruise is there. I don't know why Channing Tatum is there. Honestly, I didn't even know he's been in 8 films, to be honest. Oh, wait, okay, Magic Mike. I watched the Magic Mike films, and I watched through the 21 Jump Street films. So that's 5 right there. I don't know what the remaining few are from, but yeah, he's great in all those. That probably explains Matt Bomber as well. Will Ferrell also went through a bunch of his comedies. Jamie Lee Curtis, that's probably from all the Halloween movies that I watched over Halloween. Now moving on to directors. Like I mentioned, I have absolutely fallen in love with Eric Rohmer's films, and I've watched through all his Moral Tales. This next year with the Criterion release, I'm going to be watching through all his 4 seasons. Really, really excited about that. Cannot wait. Yorgos Lanthimos has been one of my favorite directors for quite some time now. And this year I finally finalized and went through all of his filmography because, you know, over the past couple years I had seen, The Lobster, and I believe I had seen Sacred Deer. But this year I just went through all of his movies start to finish, and it just has cemented him as one of my favorite directors, if not my favorite director. I just absolutely love his style. He's so weird. Definitely not for everybody, but for me, he just clicks. Marty, gotta have him in here. My wife and I have been slowly working through his entire filmography. That's been a very gradual process. He has a ton of movies, and honestly, it's a lot of the unknown ones that seem to be really the best of his. And so it's been a really fun experience going through that. Pier Paolo Pasolini, as previously mentioned, absolutely love his films, except for the one I ended on. But I will be continuing through that. I'll be watching through his Trilogy of Life, I believe it's called, and then Salo as well. Zack Snyder, pretty much on a yearly basis, I always watch through his trilogy of DC films. I absolutely love those films. Man of Steel is perfect. Batman vs. Superman is perfect to me, and I love Justice League as well. I enjoy those films greatly. However, the last film of Zack Snyder I watched was Rebel Moon, and that currently is my least favorite movie of the year. I really, really, really did not like that movie, which made me sad because I was really looking forward to it. Lastly, Bud Bodeker, I think is his name. These were a bunch of the renowned westerns that Criterion released, starring Randolph Scott. So I think that's why he's here, is because I just watched like 5 or 6 of those films. Yeah, 5. Watched 5 of those films like back to back to back to back to back. They were all fantastic. Love it. Quintessential Western. Absolutely fantastic. I'll have to make a video on those at some point because those are so great. And if you love Westerns, if you love Randolph Scott, definitely check that out. Fun fact, did you know that Randolph Scott was actually partners with Cary Grant? I did not know that. I learned that recently. First of all, I didn't know Cary Grant was gay, but I also didn't know Randolph Scott was gay, let alone they were gay together. Very cool. Didn't know that. Good for them. So there you have it. That is my Letterboxd Wrapped for 2023. Absolutely amazing year for movies. And I know I mentioned I was going to add a bunch of the films that I watched here at the end and kind of talk about the ones that I loved the most, but this video is already too long, so I'm going to save that for another video. So make sure that you subscribe because that video will be coming out, but also my best of 2023 films will be coming out very soon. My goal is to get that done before the Oscars. I've got tickets for Fallen Leaves and The Zone of Interest at the end of January. So I'm going to be holding off and making my list until I see those films. I refuse to make my list until I get a chance to see everything that came out in 2023. So once I see those films, I'll be releasing my 2023 list. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. But until then, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a new video, and drop a like on this video if you liked it. Also, leave a comment and let me know what your Letterboxd stats are. I'm curious to know what your top directors were, what your top actors were, and what some of your milestone films were. Comment below and let me know those stats. I'm really curious to see. But most of all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It really means the world.